Hello everybody, welcome back to Wednesday Fitness. So today I'm going to share with you guys a gluten-free recipe. I am doing waffles, which is made of buckwheat groats. So for any of you guys who have heard of that, it is a great gluten-free grain. It's also low glycemic. So it's great for those that are diabetic and also for those that are trying to remove themselves of all the wheat. And so I've been on this kind of gluten-free kick and trying to learn some things. And as you know, I've also been on a waffle kick. So we're definitely trying this out. The waffles, I will have to say, is a little bit different than the other ones, since I had to kind of tweak it a little bit to kind of fit what I've done before. And so I looked up a buckwheat groat recipe instead of the original one that I had, and it changed it up a little bit. I will say you are going to probably need a little bit of flour in this because if it's too thin, which is what initially happened, it basically was like not fluffing up enough, and so it was a lot of holes and it looked more like Swiss cheese than it did look like a pancake. So I had to mix it up, and so what you're seeing is actually making it with the flour. And so I ended up using gluten-free flour, which is basically a 1-to-1 ratio. And depending on the type of gluten-free mix that you get, you might have to kind of look at what that ratio is if you're substituting for an all-purpose flour. Like I said, baking is something that is very new to me, and it feels like rocket science because sometimes I'm not quite certain how much of baking powder or baking soda you have to put in to make it have the right crisp, or maybe to have it fluff up. But I will say I definitely did not add enough vanilla extract, so I probably will increase that on the recipe. So I would suggest that. And I also didn't add that much salt to it either. Now, it is best served hot and fresh. I will say if you end up letting it go overnight, in terms of like after you've cooked it and then you're making it for the next day, I would say cook it on a low temperature. All the other ones that I did with waffles worked best at 350 for about 2 minutes in the air fryer, or even 3 minutes in the air fryer. But the gluten-free buckwheat groats is a little bit different. The seed is a lot denser. I would say you really kind of want to do maybe a lower set temperature, but for a little bit longer, so it cooks all the way through. It freezes nicely just like the other ones, but again, I would set it at a low temperature and just cook it a little longer, and reheat it in your air fryer. Aside from that though, like again, top it the same way that you did on anything else that you do, and it turns out fantastic. So I will have to say that this was definitely a labor of love by making a ton of these. I did a big batch and it made about 14 waffles, so we have plenty to keep us going, and it was stored in the freezer nicely. So with that said, guys, I hope that this encourages you to continue to get creative in the kitchen and not to get stuck in eating the same thing. And I always love trying new things because that just allows me to think about all the different type of nutrients that I'm getting, but also to explore maybe things I'm not so savvy in cooking. And like I mentioned before, like capers was a new one this year, so I'm trying to add a couple new things to my dishes that I'm not been necessarily in my pantry, and try to cook with those. So I hope I can share more things in the near future, especially baking stuff, because that's something I know I say I'm like terrible at it, but if you try to learn something new, then that helps create new neural pathways in your brain, and it actually keeps your brain young. So as a personal trainer, that's actually really important, that you're constantly learning and you're trying to challenge your brain neurologically. Nonetheless, I hope that this has been informative, but I did want to share some more recipes with you guys, and if you have enjoyed these videos, please feel free to like and subscribe. I've really appreciated the comments, and also just appreciated people following here, and of course being a personal trainer, I do put in some of my tips and things like that in here. And since we're focusing on Wednesday fitness, I will start focusing on the fitness side of things as well. So with that said, may you live, thrive, and be healthy. You guys take care. Bye.